always been a big fan of Big Black because it was the first really cerebral punk rock I heard. That wasn't just like, fuck the government or whatever, you know? It's smart. The Big Black song was definitely one of my picks, and I picked that one also because I know that Willie likes that song as well, you know? So the whole process of picking these songs is really kind of democratic. It started with a list. Mark and Bob at management came to me, Bob Johnson, were like, let's do this covers record, which we've been talking about doing off and on for 18 years or whatever. And I wanted to do a Big Black song because that band was really important to me in that they were the first punk rock band that displayed to me a whole lot of cerebral weight. You know what I mean? I remember seeing ads for Big Black's albums in like Flipside and Maximum Rock and Roll and reading about them, and of course them famously announcing that they were going to break up before they released their final album, Songs About Fucking. They're like, well, this is going to be our last record, and they were getting really big, and they're like, but we're going to break up. So they toured on it and broke up. So I was really intrigued by them, and when I heard Big Black, at that point in time I was listening to a lot of American hardcore, a lot of the crossover type stuff that, you know, like The Accused and stuff that we were on this, and a lot of old British punk. And I listened to Big Black and I was like, this is just so weird. And the lyrics are so dark, but so smart, you know, so smart and just so angsty. So also they had a drum machine, which is just, you know, what punk rock band goes out and plays with a drum machine and kills? So when I got Big Black, the first Big Black album I heard was Atomizer, and Kerosene was on that. And I remember listening to it, and I lived in a small town, like a little paper mill town out in the middle of nowhere in Virginia, and listening to it, and there's this angsty guy singing about living in this little town where there's nothing to do, and catching stuff on fire, you know, and being an angst-ridden teenager. Please don't take this, teenagers, and go burn your town down. I'm not advocating that, you know, it's not cool. But having those feelings, you know, when you're younger, especially being a weirdo, like, sort of iconoclastic punk rock nerd in Rednecksville, that song super, super spoke to me, you know. Interesting enough, I did a lot of research about Big Black over the years, and I believe the song is actually, Kerosene is about a girl. Never anything to do but jump kerosene. There's kerosene around, she's something to do. So I think it's about a local girl of loose moral character where you could go and have a good time with her, but that's the only thing to do is like fuck in the middle of nowhere, you know? Fucking do meth, I guess. So neither of which I was doing much of, to be honest, as a teenager, thank goodness. But the song just spoke to me of like being in this, what feels like a dead-end town, and looking for something to do, as he says over and over and over again. And the original is just so abrasive. And all of Albini's lyrics are, to this day, you can go back and listen to them, and I mean, they're edgy. That's an overused term, but they're edgy. You know, he wasn't afraid to explore the darker side of the human psyche, of the human experience. Not saying that it was his, but more using his song as a narrative vehicle to illustrate that dark side. So, I think my band in general was a little bit scared to do this song at first. I think they kind of agreed. It's like, oh, okay, Randy wants to do this freaking song because it's like 6 minutes long and it's basically 2 riffs. And the lyrics are just over and over and over. And they started recording it and they're like, oh, this is cool, you know? Because on the surface, you're like, whoa, that's really long. And it, you know, there's a lot of repetition. But it seems simple on the surface, but that song actually gave us a lot of problems. It, like, the bass line and the drums line up in a really weird way. And I remember recording it, and going in, and I'm like, that is the wrong bass line. That's the wrong bass line. And Josh, our producer, and John were like, no, that's the right bass line. We isolated, took it down. It is note for note. And I'm like, it can't be. It doesn't sound right. And it was this weird thing where they had, the drums are on this weird different beat. So like, you know, we had to shift everything a half step or something. It's a more intricate song than it seems. At the end, because we were having so much problems, hopefully this will make it to the record, because I don't know what Albini's going to think about this, or if he'll ever even listen to it. I know who knows what he's doing. He's off doing something weird somewhere. But we were having so much problems getting this thing right that John had to recut the bass player. Did a great job, but at the end, finally, he was having a problem getting it right. He leans up and he screams into his pickups after he got it right. He says, "Fuck you, Steve Albini!" And that's in the recording if you listen at the end. So we're not really saying "fuck you, Steve Albini." John was just frustrated with your musical bizarreness.